So what can it do? Well, the answer is, what can it not do? It's the universal approximation theorem says that it can do everything. So just to give you a very old example, this is library from Google, Deep Learning Retinopathy, available free online. You can download it, run in most of the GPU laptops. You can certainly use it online on the cloud. You just take an image of your retina, upload it. It will tell you your health state. It will tell you what your age is approximately. It will tell you, so it's predicting 59.1 years. The person is 57.6 years. Not bad. Maybe the person lied. I don't know. It says the gender. It's able to predict whether you smoke or not, whether you're diabetic or not, what is your systolic blood pressure, what is your body mass index, just by looking at one retina image. No human can even come close to it. No matter how great your doctor is, he cannot do that. And now this is available to everyone. You can upload an image. There are attachments which you can buy for your cell phone which can be put to take an image of your retina and then just upload it, and it will tell you all of this. That's possible because of deep learning. What else can it do? Well, it can not just read your eye, it can read your lips. You have enough data available and enough compute power available, you can read lips. So you have tons of news, online news on television available which has been transcribed. So you have transcripts of all of those newses, and thus you have text and the person who's speaking, and if you train an AI model on it, you could have lip reading. These libraries are available for free. You could have lip reading libraries downloaded, and you can just look at the video and you can tell what the person is speaking. Of course, it's not in all languages, but many of the languages. You can certainly train it now, because I do see in Marathi and Hindi channels also now you have text coming below it, you know. So now very soon we'll have so much of volume of data in other languages, you could do that. But what else can it read? Well, if it can read your eye, it can read your lip. Can it read our minds? Probably that's the highest thing which we have. We have nothing beyond that, right? I can read your thoughts. Can I read your thoughts? The answer is, why not? The math says you can do anything. It's just a question of data. So there have been a lot of research, and these are published research on how you could use latent diffusion models, LDMs, to create images by reading MRIs of your brain. I show you an image, and the images on the top are the images which are shown to the subject, and the images at the bottom are images reconstructed by AI by looking at MRI of your brain. So just imagine your spouse asks you to sleep inside an MRI tonight. They would like to read what dreams you are having, because he can now reconstruct that. You cannot hide things which are in your head anymore as well. So there's pretty much no limit to what, now it takes the level of, I would say, personal liberty and limits of privacy to the next level. So you really may have the next invention, someone selling you a hat, a lead hat, through which you cannot be, your brain waves cannot be read, and thus AI can't detect what you're thinking. But having said that, all of these are examples where the brain was being used, lips were being used, eye was being used to infer things. These were models which were trained with data, and those models were then inferring things. But then there comes a time when the models become so powerful that they don't have to look at the data to infer, but they can start creating data. And that takes us to Gen AI. Now, Gen AI is not new. Of course, you hear a lot about it now, but in 2014, generative adversarial networks started. These were networks which started creating AI models, which are being shown at the bottom, which could create faces without ever knowing what a face is. And it's a small complex network. You have a model at the back, at the bottom, which creates a random noise. The model at the top, known as discriminator, looks at that random noise and says, is it an image of a face or a person or not? If it is an image of a face, it says real. If it says it's not, it just tells the generator that it's not a face of an image. The generator does not know what it has to do. It just creates another random image, another random collection of pixels. And then it goes through this cycle 1,000,000 times, and in doing so, it learns what it is expected to do. And what can it do? Well, it can create faces like these. None of these people exist. These have been generated by generative adversarial networks GAN models. They look so human-like. They look almost like the next door person, you may know someone. But these don't exist. What else can you do with GANs? The generative AI can be used to create fine arts. You think fine arts is something which only humans have? Humans can do painting and fine arts, but AI can do better fine arts. You think Rahman is the only guy who can compose music? Well, AI can compose beautiful music, and these are available online. You can log in, get free music which is being created by AI real time. You'll never hear the same music ever again. And they'll continuously keep streaming new and new music. What else can they do? Well, there is no limit to what they cannot do. They can create people who become fashion influencers. This specific industry realized, this fashion company realized that their models are being very highly paid. They're not very responsive. So they created an AI model. Now this AI model does not exist, but now she can do all the advertisements for you. We have one in our case as well. This person is not a person, it's an AI model. She has a Facebook page, she or it, whatever you may call it, She also has a program where she interviews celebrities, but she doesn't exist. It's completely AI generated. Now you will not have a Bollywood hero and heroines, you will probably have AI generated heroes and heroines who will do any role for free for the directors and producers. The world would be very different. And world is already very different. And these are not things which are happening today. They are happening yesterday, a year, and so on and so forth. But beyond these little things here and there, what can you use AI for? Now you see, once ChatGPT came, people started understanding, oh, there is AI which is possible. But this entire thing started in 2010. Before 2010, no one could even think of this. The natural language processing models before 2010 were rudimentary. They were of Stone Age. And suddenly we are now not in the Steel Age, we are into the modern future Space Age. So ChatGPT is something which has made everyone aware of these models. But actually, this whole thing started in 2010 with the first deep learning network which was trained. Now you go to US, you go to these airports, Phoenix, San Francisco, Los Angeles. Cab will have no driver. You just sit down and you tell where you want to go. The cab will take you. These are autonomous vehicles which are working for many years now. So this is where you start having now a monetization model beyond just a fashion industry or an influencer or something like that. Now you could actually start looking at a way to monetize this. ChatGPT, how can you monetize ChatGPT? ChatGPT is probably selling everyone. A corporate can buy, you could have customer support, blah, blah, but these are little things. But now this is a more complex thing where you have to drive in a real world where people have rules, where people will skip rules, they will skip red lights, there'll be people who will suddenly fall in front of you accidentally, and you have to still worry about all of this. So this is a real world situation. Factories are more structured in some sense. But then you have other areas where you could actually monetize, and this beverage company in Europe has made its CEO as an AI. This AI, which we call as Mika, she or it, whatever you may want to call, is an AI CEO. Now, if you look at CEO never has to go to a shop floor, never has to run a very complex process, heat treatment, manufacturing routine, or something like that. A CEO is primarily looking at data being told, given from his or her, VPs and others, and making decisions. That's an ideal case for AI to work. So AI is there for more than a year now. Just imagine your CEO is an AI. You go in the morning and say, this was the newspaper. This was 8 hours old story. I've read all of it. I've gone to the basic, because AI will know everything. You can't lie to it. You can't fool it. And guess what? When it has to hire the next VP, would he look for you or another AI model? Or say, I'll create one more subroutine inside me, which will run parallelly, just add 2 more GPUs to my core, and I'm fine, My entire vice presidents have to be not needed. Marketing, taken. Sales, taken. new product development taken, CTO taken. I'm going to do everything fully synchronized with the real world, never taking vacation, never going to sleep, and having always the right frame to do the best for the investors and for the company. Now, this is happening as we speak. But having said that, it doesn't mean everything is gone. There are some very complex cases where AI still is not able to do. And one of that is manufacturing. So what conventional AI models cannot do? Today, conventional AI models cannot solve complex multi-domain manufacturing shop floor problems. And why is that? When they can do so much of... So now if you look at ChatGPT, you have trillions of lines of text fed to a ChatGPT. All sorts of books, novels, fictions, everything has been... So you have so much of data. You look at convolutional neural networks or the autonomous vehicle. Why can autonomous vehicle work? Because you have billions of images fed to a vehicle. You have 100,000 hours of video fed to that AI. You had so much of variety of data. But now you go to shop floor, you realize that the data from the shop floor is in a very narrow band. Imagine you are making alloy wheels. Imagine you are making tires. Imagine you are making a specific automotive part or aerospace part. You want to make sure that your process parameters are the most optimal to get you the best product, which means you will always keep your process parameters in a very narrow band. You will not play with one extreme, that extreme. So though you may have 10 years of data, but actually the real data is very small because it's the same data again and again. You want to always keep it within 100 to 110 degrees C. You always want to keep the pressure in this. You want to always keep the line size, speed in this. So you have a very narrow data. And very narrow data actually means you have very less variety of data. So AI can't learn from it. It needs to have some variety. Imagine you don't change any data. You have 10 years of production, but that all the parameters are exactly the same. Do you think AI will be able to learn? Just because you have 10 years of the same data again and again, it's repeated data, it's not a variety of data. So that's one of the main reasons where AI is not something which can just come and start taking over your manufacturing processes. So it's a good news for manufacturing people. For how long, we have to still think and discuss about that in a later stage. Universal approximate theorem says finally it will reach, but not yet. Not today, not today. The other thing is that there are many hidden variables. When you're doing any manufacturing, you have lots of things which you can change. Those are your levers. But that is what you can influence, but there are many other internal variables which are required for the final product to have its quality, production, every aspect of it. And those are not necessarily available to you. You can't even have that data collected. So there are lots of hidden models, hidden variables, and there are methodologies. AI has methodologies for all of those, and I'll talk about some of those here. Finally, expensive cross-validation. The AI model comes up with a very fancy idea, which is groundbreaking. Would you apply that? Your real production, you are running a steel plant, and they say, blast furnace, make this change. Your blast furnace goes down, entire steel making, rolling, casting, everything will go down. You just cannot. So this is too drastic. The guy sitting over there who's the in charge, he says, you know what, please step out of the room. You are not touching my blast furnace. It's a multi-million-dollar thing. Entire downstream is, dependent on that. So you can't really just go and walk in as an AI and say, oh, do this, do that, because it could be very expensive. And finally, there are several problems with AI, biggest being that it can hallucinate. And I have an entire talk on what AI can do and how it hallucinates. And it hallucinates so nicely that you sometimes are fooled. Just imagine you are feeding AI. ChatGPT has been fed millions of books. How many of those books will be true? You have hundreds of fictions which you have fed to ChatGPT. ChatGPT reads Harry Potter, and ChatGPT thinks that's the world. It thinks you can just go through the wall, you can fly in cars, everything is possible. It's written, it's being fed, it has been trained on it. So it does not very well know where to draw the line of reality and fiction. And then it thinks it's all right to make up something, So it will hallucinate and make up things. And that becomes a major problem, because if you're making up things, then on a shop floor it will not work. You put so much of X amount of material A, B, Y amount of material B, you get Z amount of material C. Mass balance has to match. Basic engineering constraints have to be met AI cannot hallucinate that 1 plus 1 becomes 4. No, it will not be the case. So those things are only known based on engineering constraints. Enthalpy match, heat balance, mass balance, tons of things have to be hard constrained met by AI, which right now is not possible. So these are the things where AI cannot do alone. So what's the solution? Well, the solution is to merge AI with engineering. And we at IIT Bombay, we have lots of solutions where we are merging artificial intelligence with engineering to create solutions which are based on hard constraints given by engineering and 200 years of knowledge of engineering. And at the same time, they are using artificial intelligence. We call them as XGen, expert generative AI models.